People usually wait until January to start thinking about changing their life, but according to the Neuroscience, there's actually a better time. So if you've been stalling on your mid-year reset, or you are waiting for the right time to start thinking about what moves you need to make, then this video is for you. I'm breaking down 5 science-backed reasons why summer is actually the smartest time to get your reinvention era started. Plus, I'm going to give you some simple tips that are going to help you make the most of this season without having to go into hustle mode. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Kiran Yoliswa, coach, career strategist, and creator of the Possibility Pattern. I've spent the last 15 years shaping a career across tech, media, and entrepreneurship. Most recently, the last 5 years as a senior leader at one of the world's biggest tech companies. And now I help people who are smart but stuck realign their work in a way that feels strategic, grounded, and true to them. And if you're looking for a way to start getting unstuck immediately, then check out the free 2-minute quiz that I made. The link is down below in the description. Now, I know that summer is probably the time where you want to think about work or your career or your big goals the absolute least. I know this is like full on suns out, buns out mode. We are more relaxed, we're more social, we're at the weddings, the vacations, the barbecues, the picnics in the park. You know, lots of us are on summer hours. We are deep within the ministry of enjoyment. I get it. And I'm not here to rain on your parade at all with a kind of, you should be hustling while your enemies are sleeping kind of vibe. But there's a very specific set of circumstances that come together in the summer to create a very potent window of opportunity for reinvention. And I just don't want you to miss out, because if we understand how to ride that motivational wave, then this season can actually offer the kind of clarity and momentum that actually shifts our lives. Okay, let's get into it. The first one is more sunlight equals more serotonin, which means an increase in our mood and motivation. So because summer days start earlier and end later, even if you don't change anything in your routine at all, you're just naturally going to get more sunlight exposure. And then on top of that, you're likely spending more time outside anyway. So think, there's cute little alfresco lunches or reading on your balcony instead of inside. All that extra sunlight boosts serotonin, which is our happy hormone, and that lifts our mood and motivation. And we all know that when our mood is better and our motivation is higher, it's so much easier to get started on the things that we really want to do. And then when you add in that extra juicy vitamin D boost from all that extra sunlight, it gives you more energy to be able to actually keep going. Number 2 is that your nervous system is more regulated. So the kinds of things that our parasympathetic nervous system loves are just more available in the summer. So that's the side where you're feeling rested and relaxed. So think about all that extra time in nature. You're more likely doing more movement. You're spending time with your friends and your family more. There's so much beauty everywhere. All of those things really help to regulate our nervous system. And when we are in that rest and digest side of our nervous system, this is the side where creativity, connection, and clarity really thrive. And this is the reason why in the summer, we usually feel so much more open. Things feel so much more possible. We're more likely to see things differently and see things in new ways. And we can finally feel safe and grounded enough to take those first steps on something that may have felt more daunting in the past. Number 3 is that slowing down actually gives your intuition more room. So one of the best things about summer is that it kind of feels a bit like a built-in slow season. People are usually in and out on vacation, so deadlines stretch, calendars sort of loosen a bit, and the weekend tends to just expand. And as the pace slows down, we have more room to actually be able to hear ourselves think. Things become less urgent, and that headspace gives us the opportunity to be able to start to notice the things that our brain has been trying to tell us the rest of the year, and be able to feel into some of the clarity that we already have inside of us, but we've been too busy to think about, and we've just been pushing it to the side. Number 4 is that you are already disrupting your routine. And this is one of my favorites because I have to tell you that autopilot is one of the biggest enemies of change. I cannot tell you how many clients I've had who have told me that they had known for ages, for years sometimes, that they knew that they needed to make a change, but it was just the daily grind of the day-to-day that distracted them so much and kept them so preoccupied that they weren't able to give themselves the headspace and the opportunity to think about what it is that they wanted to do instead, until eventually it ended up having to be a crisis that sort of woke them up and forced them to have to make alternative decisions. So what I love about summer is that it shakes up that autopilot, but in a more gentle and joyful kind of way. So whether it's the summer hours, or it's, you're traveling somewhere, or it's all of the different events like the festivals and the weddings and all of that kind of stuff, all of that breaks your routine, which shifts the rhythm of your day-to-day life. And that break can serve as a pattern interrupt, which is what our brains need to be able to notice what's not working and shift it. Number 5 is that your dopamine menu turns into more of an all-you-can-eat buffet. So like I was saying earlier, that so many of the things that are great for our parasympathetic nervous system are just so much more available. It's the same thing when it comes to our dopamine. So the extra sunlight, the earlier wake ups, the more movement, the time in nature, all of that social time as well, all of that feeds us with steady and satisfying dopamine hits, which are so much more nourishing than the peaks and crashes of dopamine that we get when we are on our phones all the time, doom scrolling for hours. You're also probably scrolling less because you are just like in the streets, you're outside, you're booked and busy, you are hopefully spending less time on your phone and therefore not having those peaks and crashes as much as you would maybe in other seasons. And so this is a great time where your dopamine is likely to be more stable, which means that not only do you have more motivation to get something started, you also have more motivation to be able to stick with it for longer as well. Hopefully long enough that you can actually make something habit, which is why this is a great time to start something new, because you are more likely to stick with it. So those are all my reasons why you should make the most of summer as your reinvention era. But I'm going to give you a few tips as to how you can make the most of it without feeling like you need to fall into locking in mode or hustling mode, right? It is still a season of enjoyment, but it's just about how can we just sprinkle in a little bit of intentionality so that we can make the most of this season to set us up for success that we want in the future. My first tip is for those of you who are in a season of trying to figure things out. If you are in a phase where you are looking for clarity and you're just not sure, you feel confused right now, you feel stuck, you feel lost, you're saying things to yourself like, I know I want something different, I just don't know what that is yet. My main tip for you is to claim some of that time that you get back this summer for some think about my life sessions with yourself. Okay, so summer gives you more space and more time. So we're going to use it towards that clarity. Best case scenario, what I would recommend is to schedule an hour a week or every other week into your calendar for some reflection and some journaling and to do some of the deeper thinking around these questions about what's coming next that you don't usually have time for in other parts of the year when things feel a bit busier. And even better, if you are lucky enough to have summer hours, take this out with you. Like take your journal to the park and use an hour of that extra time to be able to sit in the sun and, touch your feet on the grass and do your reflection and your deep thinking in the park and make it part of your routine. And even if you're only able to keep this up for the summer, I promise you that even 4 to 8 weeks, so much clarity can come through just by being able to commit to sitting down with yourself on a regular basis to ask yourself these questions and to reflect on your answers. This is something I hear from my coaching clients all the time, that it is so hard to prioritize self-reflection and personal development in a consistent way. And so at an absolute baseline, us having weekly coaching sessions forces them to sit down for 1 hour to prioritize like, okay, I need to do this self-work. And so if you are able to create that routine for yourself of just an hour a week or even an hour every couple of weeks, it can be so transformative for you. And like I said, summer is a time when our calendars tend to be a little bit lighter. So this is the perfect time for you to be able to do that and to get started. So that's best case scenario. But if that even feels like it's a bit too much, a more middle ground option is to make it a game. Think about it more like every time a meeting gets cancelled or some work plans shift, treat that as an opportunity to be able to claim back that time for yourself for this self-reflective work. So rather than thinking about, okay, I'll just use that time back to catch up on some extra work, or maybe I'll schedule a different work meeting, instead be like, actually, great, that's a sign for me to use that time for myself for this self-reflection. If you are somebody who maybe your schedule hasn't changed at all, and maybe this is still a very busy season for you, if the only downtime you really have over the summer is when you are going to take a vacation, then what I would recommend is that be intentional about while you're on that vacation, setting aside a couple of hours or maybe half a day while you're on that vacation and do some of this self-reflection. So maybe it's just like, on one of the mornings, getting up a bit earlier than others and going to a coffee shop by yourself or, taking a walk, just being able to take a little moment to yourself and do some of this thinking. And if you're thinking right now, okay, cool, I can probably set aside a bit of time to do this work, but I have no idea where to start. Like, what would I even do in that time? Then a great place to start is to take my free quiz. It'll take you 2 minutes. It's going to help you identify where you are right now and give you some suggestions and resources that you can use to get unstuck and help you shift into your next level. It's designed to give you a fresh sense of direction. So check out the description box for the link for that. My second tip is for those of you who do have a sense of direction. So you know what it is that you want to be doing or know what you should be doing, but you have been procrastinating on getting started. My recommendation for you is to try a no stakes summer side quest. And this is all about, instead of trying to tackle the whole mountain up front, break down what you're trying to do into smaller steps and use all of that feeling of possibility in summer to be able to experiment and test things out. So take whatever you've been procrastinating on, break it down into a smaller step, and then reframe it as a summer experiment. So maybe it's a creative project that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's finally starting that side hustle, wanting to pivot into a new industry or a new skill that you've been thinking about learning and haven't got around to. The key unlock for this is telling yourself that it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be permanent, approaching this from a more experimental and side quest kind of way. It's still summer. We still want it to be fun. So for example, if you were someone who has been saying for ages that you want to start a podcast, then could you use this summer to be able to create just your pilot episode? And the whole point of a pilot is that it's a prototype, right? It's an opportunity to play and to see what happens. Summer is your permission to just get started. And my third tip is for those of you who are a bit further in your journey. So this is, you have a clear sense of direction. You have been working on whatever it is that you want to, but you are at a stage where you feel like you want to expand your impact, but you don't want to burn out. So for you guys, my suggestion is to get out from behind your laptop and maximize serendipity. And that's because it is so easy to think that your next big idea is going to come from locking in or working harder or just pushing through. And so it's so tempting to just think, I just need to keep working harder. I just need to be at my laptop and power through. And that's what's going to help me to get to that next level. But more often than not, that next big idea often shows up from outside the grind, in the moments of movement or beauty or conversation. And someone naturally just creates so many more of those moments. So rather than focusing so much on the alternative being resting, think about the alternative being following your curiosity, which in and of itself is also very energizing. So use those catch-ups and conversations that you're having to, run ideas past people. Check in on the pulse of what's happening in your wider ecosystem, or just simply pay more attention to what lights you up. Because the thing that shifts your path might not come from another strategy session. It might come from a question that somebody asks you at a picnic. So no matter what your plans are this summer, whether you're in your soft life era or you're already on your third high rocks, if something inside you knows that it's time for a bigger shift in your career or even in the bigger picture of your life, then this season might be the most supportive time for you to start thinking about it. And it doesn't have to be a productivity sprint. What I'm talking about is a few steps taken with intention that can create the kind of clarity and momentum that you've been craving and looking for. And if you want help figuring out what that next small step could look like for you, then take the quiz that's linked in the description box. It's a great way for you to clarify where you are right now and what is the most aligned move that you could make next. If this was helpful, then please give this video a like and make sure to subscribe. I've got so much more coming on how to make career decisions from a more grounded and strategic place. All right, I'll see you in the next one.